Howdy folks, welcome to another episode of the Snowy's Camping Show, joined by myself, Ben, and my colleague Lauren. How you going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. If you haven't already done so, it could be the first time you've seen us, please subscribe to our channel. You can do that via YouTube, your favourite podcast app, and you can join in on the conversation in our Facebook group, which is called Snowy's Camping Banter, which is an awesome group of people talking all things camping, four-wheel drive, caravan, and a little bit of hiking as well, I think. Today,
got somewhere to be today, Benji.
I have. Yeah, I'm pushing through.
Short, sharp,
we've got a
shiny,
timer.
punchy.
Well, we've got a timer on the wall. I've literally walked in, gone, we've got a meeting in half an hour and we want to do a podcast episode. Well, I didn't forget. I just had a complete change in my plan for today. So we're like, can we do this? Can we cover this topic in half an hour? And you've done a run sheet and everything. We smashed it. And now we're sitting here and we've got a timer in front of us and I'm wasting time right now. Anyway, today we're talking about glamping, bougie camping, luxury items. There's been a few items that have just appeared on our website from a brand called Quest.
And apparently not yet, actually. Like
they're not?
No, not. I did check them this morning and I checked in with our online catalog manager and he said that they were intending for them to come up this week, but they're not quite here. So some of those items will be coming. But we have had some stuff from Kick-Ass come in, which I'm just like, man, that's bougie as heck.
Maybe by the time this episode goes live, it'll be
maybe, who knows? It's a mystery, guys.
And we'll touch on fairy lights as well, talk about them being a bougie item.
Anyway, but I think like, in the middle of winter, I don't know about you, but obviously it's really cold and it's wet and I get a bit of seasonal depression. Like I just want the sun back and it's like, ugh. And camping is awesome. Winter camping is great. You have your fire but sometimes it can be a bit more of a slog when you're in the depths of winter to really make that effort to get out and about. And I think also for a lot of people, who have friends or family that aren't super into camping, the middle of winter is definitely not a time where you're getting them out and about. So, that creature comforts, I think, at this particular time of year is quite relevant.
Yeah.
But there are, like you mentioned in our catalogue, there are some other brands, that we've seen in the past, like Zempire with their aesthetics. I think we touched on in a furniture episode with them at some point in the past. And then some of the other gear that we've got coming through in our range as well. It just really is the bougie side of things, or the glamping side of things, is starting to become more prevalent and mainstream, I think.
It's a bit of that van life thing coming into it too, setting up your van to be a bit of a, not just a mattress in the back of your van, but a nice space to wake up in the morning with the sun coming through the window.
Yeah. So what is glamping? Most people out there would know, and I think that the actual definition, which might be obvious, is glamorous and camping, and you smash them together. And I don't know about you, but there's not been very many camping trips in my life that I would say is synonymous with glamorous.
Not glamorous. I mean, there's plenty of spots that I've been to that I think, how glamorous is this?
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting in a pristine environment with the sun setting over calm waters.
Yeah.
That's glamorous to me.
This is heaven.
But that's not quite, well, I guess it's a little bit of what we're talking about, but this is more so what makes your actual campsite glamorous. Like the space where you sleep, your awning where you're eating, all those kind of finishes and what do you call them, dressings or whatever, to make it a really nice space that's perhaps not synonymous with camping as we've known it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think also, as I'm sure this episode would generate, the definition of what glamping is will vary from camper to camper depending on your own baseline setup. Like some people's baseline setup is going to be a way more bougie or, luxurious than someone else's.
Yep.
And so, but I think that the actual term glamping really has come about, and I've sort of got some, notes here to roughly cover the actual definition or the category of it. And I think that's more so with that, modern resurgence and ecotourism and social media and all of this sort of stuff that people want this immersive nature, outdoor adventure experience, but they don't want the difficulties or the unpleasantness or the effort of camping. And for a lot of us who are campers, those things are actually part of why we camp.
Yeah. And it's funny how it's changed with the paid accommodation too. Usually if you camp, it's your cheap patch of grass or dirt or whatever, and then you pay for a room.
Yeah.
And now you pay premium for those two kind of mashed together by a large permanent canvas tent on a structure in a really remote location with awesome views, and it's camping in a permanent tent, and it's got en suites and a full bed inside. And the only thing that really makes it camping is that the walls are made of canvas.
And they're
which is
all
an awesome experience.
It's like they're all preset, right? Like, so all of your shelters, all of that stuff, it's preset. Whether or not it's a tent, it's pre-pitched for you. Whether or not, like you say, it's a safari tent on a proper deck, whether or not it's a tree house, whether or not it's like a caravan, or, you know, it's all pre-done for you. All your furnishings are generally like your domestic sort of type things. Like you've got your plush double high koala mattress and all that.
And you got room service and breakfast in bed.
Room service, breakfast in bed. You've
complimentary
often got
champagne and
power supply, televisions, you know, all of those things, but you're in something made of canvas. And I think, like, logistically, all of that stuff is taken care of, which is excellent. But then the downside of that is that it costs a fair bit.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
And I think a lot of people who get into camping because it doesn't cost a lot. Like, I mean, I say that with a premise of most people being like, man, I got about $1 million worth of gear in my shed and I can't stop. Like, I totally get that it's not, you know, for those of us who are really into it, it's not necessarily a cheap hobby, but in terms of that holiday as a whole, it's not super expensive.
Although general camping's getting expensive now too. I mean, it used to be the price for campsite was $10 to $15.
Yeah, $10 for an unpowered site.
$40 for unpowered patch of dirt.
I did look somewhere, and it was like $36 a night, and that was just for two people. So to tack the kids on, I was like, crikey.
Which is still cheaper than the hundreds or thousands you pay for some.
Don't want to whinge about it, but I think we're all possibly on the same page there. So I think, you know, that formalized experience of glamping is very bougie. It's very luxury. It's very high end. But it's for the people who would also go and pay for a night in a hotel or pay for a weekend away in a hotel. It's for that same sort of, I would say, category of person. Yeah. It does also have benefits for people that have accessibility issues and things like that, though. So not trashing it at all, but when I talk about glamping, and I don't know about you, but when I talk about glamping, I don't talk about that. I talk about just down and dirty camping, but like
tricked up a bit,
making it tricked up.
Which is what we're talking about today.
Hit my campsite.
You haven't got that much money to pay for a fully furnished, serviced safari tent in the middle of in a premium location,
Blue Mountains or like Dalesford or something.
Instead, you forked over $36 for a patch of grass or dirt, and you want to turn that into a slightly nicer spot than just your car with a tent pitched next to it, which I'm quite happy with. But I can totally understand some people want to trick it up a little.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't take much though.
Not much. The main thing I see is I don't know if you've listed here, there's like a hot tub from a brand now that I've seen come in.
I haven't put that in yet.
It's not part of our range or anything. It's just something we looked at and we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it's massive.
Didn't somebody say we were potentially getting it?
Maybe, yeah.
And then we were like, bro, we need this in a staff room.
I don't want to drop any brands or anything or whatever, but
just in case.
Look, just keep an eye out. There might be hot tubs online, but it's a really big option, and certainly that's going to make your campsite bougie.
Get your hot tub at Snowy's Outdoors.
You're probably going to have to book 2 campsites because you're going to need 2 cars and 2 trailers to take everything that you need.
I'm just imagining all the grey nomads in their caravan, and they've got their annex set up in this hot tub in the corner, and there's just like 10 of them with their like flutes of champagne and this bubbling away. Anyway.
Could you imagine the campsite in the morning with all the mist coming off the hot tubs? It'd just be this like cloud of steam.
I know. I was going to say, sorry, grey nomads, but if any of you are listening, you know that you want it. So that'd be hilarious.
Keep an eye out.
But in terms of glamorizing, I guess it's not a word, but your own setup.
Glamping up your kit.
Yeah. I mean, just a quick reference on I mean, I'm not going to necessarily talk about shelters per se because there's not really a huge amount of bougie, in my opinion, shelters or shelters that tick that glamping box. But there are like Zempire, for example, whose range is like an extensive ecosystem that really allows you to create a ultimate living comfort space.
And create zones, living
zones and all
zones,
of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's still a tent, but it goes up quick and you can create those zones really easily. So that's quite cool.
Joining them together, linking them together.
Yeah.
Zempire is probably the leader in that respect at the moment.
Definitely.
Pretty nice space. But sleep system obviously is the one thing that people really think of when they go bougie camping, because I think there's people think that they go camping and got to sleep on this uncomfortable mat on the ground. Not the case anymore. There are some mats that are more comfortable, arguably more comfortable than many regular mattresses people would have on their beds, I would say. Most recently, Exped probably led the way with their Megamat Max, which was 15 centimeters thick, and now every other brand has got a similar product as well. So that's 15 centimeters of mat. Doesn't necessarily mean it's more comfortable, particularly if you've got it pumped up quite tightly, but it gives you flexibility to soften it down so you can really tailor it to your level of comfort, and it lifts you up off the ground a little bit more as well. So certainly some luxury mats you can get nowadays to make your sleeping space more comfortable.
And I've laid on that Exped mat, and it's more comfortable than a lot of the mats you buy at IKEA, for example, for your bed at home. Yeah. Like, it's comfortable.
Way better than just those foam slabs with a bit of fabric over the top.
And I do also want to say watch this space in terms of Zempire potentially having something on the horizon which will really knock bougie sleeping out of the park.
Yeah.
But that's all I'm going to say on it.
They won't let us say anything.
Yeah, but, that's it.
If it comes through, it's pretty exciting. So watch that space too. So watch the hot tub space and the sleeping mat space. We're leaving you totally hanging here in this episode.
Nothing. I'm just,
Sorry.
We're just teasing.
Yeah.
Sleeping bag and bedding. I don't think there's really anything more luxury or bougie than packing your own doona and pillows and just having this real plush bedding. And I mean, even better when your mattress is on point. But there are some really compact quilt and duvet options from Cedar Summit. I think we don't stock them, but Thermarest do some as well. And they're down and they're ultra warm and light and all that sort of stuff. But you also have things like electric 12-volt blankets. We've got one of those in our range now from Kick-Ass.
Yep.
And then we're also seeing a lot of more versatility in sleeping bags, like OZtrail do one called a Sleepwalker. And then Cedar Summit, all of their bags with their free flow zip systems and things also being down and synthetic bags there, more on the higher end of things that allow you to wear your sleeping bag, have your feet out the bottom, wear it around sort of like an hoodie, have your arms out, be all comfortable sitting, but like a lot of versatility there.
And you can get some pretty comfortable double bags. That base camp bag that you recently did a video on, you came back raving about how comfortable that was.
Insane.
So it's a bit of a balance between pack size and comfort there. Like the down bags are going to pack up, so won't give you the comfort, but you still got that nylon sort of feel, although they're pretty good nowadays. Those fabrics are pretty nice.
Yeah, they're quite silky
but
now.
if you do want that feeling of your home bed, then take your doona, but it's just going to take up a bit more space in your car. Having power off grid is far easier than it ever used to be.
Yeah.
And I think certainly helps those who maybe don't like the remoteness of camping feel a bit more comfortable, because you can easily charge devices. And if you want, run televisions, run 12-volt projectors. Kick-Ass, another brand, do it. I've got one, a 12-volt projector that you can just run off 12-volt now. So you can have all of these things that you run off 12-volt systems by having a solar panel and a battery in your car to give you those creature comforts in the campsite. Which
also, on the flip side of that, it also means that people who are going remote can stay there for longer. So it benefits two different people. And a lot of people would say, well, that's not really bougie, but having a source of constant power is quite bougie, especially when, like you say, you combine it with some of the appliances that are available out there. We've recently got things like, I mentioned just earlier, an electric blanket, but we've also got like toasty makers, like electric Jaffa wines now. We've got electric kettles. You mentioned like that projector. There's so many 12-volt appliances that are coming through now that if you do have an adequate off-grid system, it's just like you're at home, but you're camping.
And it can be a little bit to invest in to set up that system to be able to run some of those devices.
Yeah.
But if it's what you really want, then it's worthwhile getting a solar battery set up for your camp kit, because it kind of gives you this feeling of being really off grid, and you can just keep living off grid because you're creating your own power within your own little ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's cool.
For sure.
Furniture is a big one. And this is probably what jumped to my mind when I thought, when you said, we've actually been talking about a bougie topic for a while now.
Yeah, we have.
Quest have got some inflatable sofas coming out.
They do.
Maybe we should talk about it.
Yes, folks, you heard that right. Inflatable sofa, like as in an actual lounge. That's inflatable,
and not for. Well, I guess you could use it in the pool. I wouldn't recommend using it in the river because you may float away. But it's an inflatable couch. I haven't actually had a good look at them, or like they're not in yet, are they? They're on their way.
They're not in
soon.
yet, but we know that they're coming.
But, an armchair, basically, inflatable armchair that you put on the ground and sit around the campsite in an armchair. I guess you'd have to be careful around the campfire. I wouldn't want any sparks or anything to get on it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a campfire sort of vibe, but who knows? I mean, like vinyl repair tape can easily just patch up your blow ups. A lot of people are just like, my blow up pool toy or my blow up thingy is like, it's popped, I'm done. Just get a roll of vinyl repair tape. It'll fix them really easily and make them last for ages.
Yep.
But I think all the furniture that's around, other than, of course, your blow up couch, you can get the basic versions of those. You can get the camping versions. But I think the things that make the furniture more bougie is the aesthetics of it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, your bamboo camp tables or things like OZtrail did, is it Drover or I can't think, Cape range or whatever, where they've just got a nice little flow with the colour scheme of the chairs and a table.
Kind of organic sort of feel about it.
Yeah, like little, like you're walking into IKEA and you've got a full like furniture range, but it's for camping gear where you can marry up your aesthetics of how things look and makes really nice.
Yep.
But also things like you can buy really huge big lounges like as in, your old Papas armchairs from the 80s. You can get like moon chairs and like lounge sofa chairs. You got your full reclining chairs.
Yep.
There's a lot of comfort and aesthetic improvements in furniture space.
Our stores have got heaps of those on display. So if you just want to go and sleep in a chair for a bit to see how comfortable it is, call in and check them out.
For sure.
But there's certainly some they're way more comfortable nowadays than your regular sort of quad fold, the basic quad fold chair or deck chair. There's some really comfortable options.
Yeah.
Cooking is induction. We go back to the power thing. You can run an induction cooker now, so you don't have to worry about if you don't want to have a campfire.
Yeah.
You don't want to worry about gas, messing with gas bottles and the smell of gas. You can get induction cookers now that will run. I guess, there's for powered sites though, sorry.
You can run it off a 12-volt system, but you need to make sure it's really good.
It's going to chew a lot of power, but if you get a powered site, and powered sites are probably almost more common than unpowered nowadays.
Yeah, I'd say so.
You can run an induction cooker from the powered sites. There's heaps of glassware that looks really nice nowadays. You don't have to drink from a plastic cup, even though it's still a plastic cup.
Technically it is plastic, but it looks like glass. It feels like glass.
Might be resin maybe. We're getting technical now.
We are. I think I've talked about them before, and I actually have some of them at home, like the stemless wine glasses. They're really great.
Yeah, I take stemless wine glasses when I go camping. But there's beer glasses, Scotch glasses, tumblers. Scorpro is a good one that you've mentioned here. You can actually take Rydell glasses,
crystal glass,
proper Rydell glasses, in a protective case so that it doesn't get broken in transit. So if you're real whiny, get one of those. Check them out online. They're really, really good product. Been around for ages now, and I've heard nothing but good things about them.
Opinel is a great, obviously we've touched on them before, but they've got like their wooden handled knives. They've got like cheese board, corkscrews, picnic set, bread knives, all of that sort of thing. French.
I think so, yeah.
French
classic knives, really affordable as well.
Very
for the basic knives, but it just adds instead of getting, my camp kit's pretty much the old kitchen stuff that I don't use inside anymore, just goes in the camp kit. But if you want to make that look nice with wooden handles and stuff, then get some Opinel knives, some folding ones that pack up small. They just look really nice in your camp kit, and they're good quality as well. Electric taps was another one.
Yeah.
Dometic have got got a magnet on the bottom, USB rechargeable, and you can just attach it to somewhere, put one end of the hose in your water source and just press the button on the top and you've got running water coming out of the tap.
Yeah, love
so
that.
You don't have to tip it out or worry about those twisty sort of taps that go in the bottom of jerry cans or anything that are a pain in the bum to play with sometimes or to open sometimes. This is just water at the touch of a button.
The other thing, probably a bit more applicable to caravanners and van lifers, is the Uni pizza oven. That is bougie as all get up, and you've got a whole range of extensive accessories for making pizza on the go. We did do a pizza making episode, so listen to that if you want more information there. Sorry?
Gas, wood or electric options there as well.
Good point there. And I also just got word before we came running in here that we're getting an air fryer as well down the line.
I did hear that.
But I think it's potentially 12 volt only.
Okay.
I mean, sorry, not 12 volt, 240 volt only. I can't imagine a 12 volt air fryer.
All of those heating elements, even this toasty machine, I'm interested to see how much power it draws because so you need if you're going to have an item that cooks food electrically, you need that good power source.
And that resistive element really does draw heat.
Power, yeah.
This, in my opinion, other than potentially a rechargeable fan, is the most bougie category, and that's heating and cooling. So people who take ducted air conditioning or ducted heating, I feel like that's bougie as heck.
Mm-hmm. And there's been a few unsuccessful releases of ducted heaters in the past, probably 2 to 3 years, but the diesel heater, the latest one I think we've got in,
diesel heaters,
doing the job pretty well.
They seem to be the most reliable, right? The diesel heaters.
And when we say ducted, we don't mean like ducted through the top of the different zones in your tent. It's literally a unit that sits outside the tent with a duct that goes in through a port, which exists in a lot of tent now to heat the tent up. So.
And I have also seen people taking actual ducted evaporative cooling. And I mean, you can get little evaporative cooling units and things which obviously aren't worth the investment for people who live in tropical areas where humidity is high because evaporative just doesn't work.
There's a classic meme like that with a tent and this big 240 volt or 3-phase evaporative unit attached to the side. But
I just think heating and cooling, when you're out in the elements and you've made a decision to just go out into the bush and stay there, to have manufactured temperature control is probably the most bougie you can get.
Absolutely. You can get others that are radiant heat that you sit in front of it and warm your hands, but you can't use them inside the tent. The ducted ones you can heat inside the tent because the unit sits on the outside.
Yeah.
So you don't have an issue with fumes or anything. The lighting, fairy lights, string lights. String lights are right. Fairy lights are no good.
I think they're bougie in the sense of what they add aesthetically to your campsite. I don't think they're necessarily bougie as a product. Because they're really cost effective. They're, especially if you're going for something like the Lucy solar lights, man, they pump out so much light as just a basic string light. They pump out so much light. So if you can have something that's super functional but also looks good, doesn't really cost you a huge amount. Is it really bougie? You just get the added bonus of it looking good.
We've had this argument before. We'll let it go.
Let's move on.
But you can get other pretty cool looking lights, party lanterns like the bio lights, inflatable lights you can hang all over the place. And the UCO candle lanterns have been around for a long time and they're a classic candle. Yeah. I've got one. They're really cool. I don't use it enough.
But they're cool.
Yeah.
And they look cool. And I think if you are into that, I don't know how many, if there is anyone out here who's into that social media camping influencer vibe, let me know. Drop your Instagram handle so we can check you out.
Yeah.
But those UCO candle lanterns are a vibe for that.
They're pretty cool.
Type of camper.
Yeah, they're just like a 9-hour candle and it just gives a nice warm light rather than a LED light or something too bright.
So showering and bathing, I think there is various levels of bougie. We've also done a shower episode on this as well. So you can get really basic 12-volt showers that cost, $30 or whatever. You can wash out of a bucket. But hot water systems, instant hot water systems, bougie. I don't care, fight me. Hot water systems are bougie.
Yep.
And then you have a brand like Julka that comes along with their whole range of ecosystem with their showering and that's bougie. Like having a portable, compact, packable wooden slat shower base floor.
It looks cool.
Looks cool. Looks like, you know, if you weren't surrounded by a shower tent, you could be in a day spa somewhere on your slatted wooden shower. It's just great.
It's big, but it's bougie.
It's
and if
super
you go
bougie.
For bougie, do with that. But those Julka hot water systems and SmartTech's another brand. Both do a similar unit.
Yeah, Coleman Aquaheat as well.
Yep, and you can get a constant hot shower from something like that. So a bit more setup, but if you want those creature comforts, then that's going to give it to you out in the bush. In
addition to that, you've got your final touches.
Decorative
items. Paintings, take some artwork. No, I think it's just mostly things like pillows, throws, floor mats. Like you can get your standard ground sheet, but then you can also get these like amazingly colourful woven mats, which I have one, not going to lie.
Look, I don't mind them because
it just looks like you've actually got this amazing, huge, big Persian rug in your campsite, but it's plastic.
Step above the regular mesh ground sheet.
Take them to the beach. Looks amazing. You know, your projector, you've mentioned that already, but that's like super crazy. You know, you can get some throws over your chairs with like tassels on them and string your fairy lights up, and
you've got sheepskin or something, haven't you? Or
sheepskin.
Yep.
You've got you know, and then you can have, of course, like we didn't touch on it in did we touch on like camp kitchen?
Yeah.
Did we? I forgot about that.
Like induction cookware and
that's right, we did. But if, you know, then you've like decorative items even can go down to your plates and bowls and things like Cedar Summit, for example, their new Detour range, which is all stainless steel. It's got like beautiful colours and that silver, and you can get the cutlery and the plate and the bowl, and you can totally harmonise all of that as well and just make your campsite looking boss.
This brings up the conversation around plastic or metal cutlery too. I think if you're going bougie and you like metal cutlery, take metal cutlery.
For sure.
It's not for me. I'm happy to take something that packs small, but I can see how it would trick it up a little bit if you want to make it a bit more luxurious in your camp kitchen.
Nice. But I definitely love how we're seeing a lot of brands, you know, like Cedar Summit with their cookware and other brands that are combining that luxury bougie aesthetics into functionality, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that into the future.
Yeah, set up your car camping kit to look nice and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Cool. Did we do it?
We've done
minutes.
it.
We got 3 minutes to
say goodbye.
Just ramble or whatever. There's more notes here, but
I think we'll be okay.
Anything?
Yeah.
We made a note of a few bougie camping locations, but we might ask you guys if you're willing to give it up. Where's your bougie
luxury camp spot?
Where do you go for your Insta shots with your with your induction cookware and your
fairy lights,
bamboo shower base, fairy lights, and a woven rug?
Yeah. Love that.
Let us know. I don't have one. Mine are usually, because mine are, they're bougie in terms of there's no one else there and it's a nice sunset. That's my bougie.
That's your bougie.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks for joining us, folks, for this speedy episode today. We'll catch you again next fortnight.
That's our quickest for ages. Thanks, guys.
See you later.